Hello, and welcome to Not Just Books, the library's monthly show about what is happening in Williamson County and at the Williamson County Public Library. I'm Dolores Greenwald, and I am the library director. Today, we have a very special show. We are working with Mr. Tom Lawrence of WWII Radio and Mr. Rick Warwick, who is Williamson County's official historian, and we're going to be talking about the library's new book from our imprint, Academy Park Press, and it is called Excellent Citizens and Notable Partings. If you are interested in history of Williamson County, this is a good way to familiarize yourself with it. If you're a longtime resident of Williamson County, you'll enjoy the book and you'll probably see quite a few familiar faces. So stay tuned and thank you so much for joining.
Good morning, Michael, and this is a unique hometown radio show. We're killing two birds with one stone. We're live on the radio, and we're what the TV guys call live to tape on WCTV Channel 3. And today we're talking about a book. And when you talk about books, you have to talk with the librarian of Williamson County, Dolores Greenwald. Good morning, Dolores.
Good morning, bro. How are you doing?
I am great. The three books that we have in hand here. Good morning, Rick Warwick.
Good morning, Tom.
Are you awake this morning?
I'm always awake since 5 o'clock.
I understand that. Until yesterday, there was only one copy of Excellent Citizens and Notable Partings. And all of a sudden, three appeared. These things must be mating at the library. But we were here today to talk about the people that made up Excellent Citizens and Notable Pairings, the latest publication of, what's the publishing house?
Academy Park Imprint. It's Academy Park Press. It's the imprint of the library.
And this is the third or fourth library publication of Academy Park? Third. And it's on sale right now, it's for sale right now on a pre-order basis.
Yes.
Because look at this book. Obviously on radio you can't look at this book, but on TV, look at this. And Dolores is going to be our Vanna White today. She's going to be our book model as we talk about historical figures in Williamson County from a particular age. And that age is what was seen in the Review Appeal that used to be Williamson County's newspaper from 1966 through 1968. Richard, I was 16, 17, and 18 in those times. How old were you then?
Well, I was a sophomore in college in 66.
See, you look so much younger than I do.
Well, I feel young.
All right. First of all, let's talk about the book, Dolores, and how people can make reservations for their copy.
Well, right now we are having a couple of different ways that you can pre-order. You can get in touch with us at the library. You can also get in touch with our special collections librarian, Marcia Frazier, her and Ashley Florida did a great job putting this together. And you can call or email Marcia-Frazier at williamsoncounty-tn.gov, or you can call us at 615-595-1250, and you can be put on the order list.
The artwork, the writing now is right out of the newspaper, and that would be either in a feature article or in an obituary. And this is from the golden age of obituaries. What has happened to obituaries?
Oh, it's
Rick?
pathetic.
They're expensive now.
Well, I'm sure they've always been expensive if you didn't want to pay for one.
Well, that's true.
But here, this was an art. It's a form now.
It
You
is.
just fill in the blanks.
That's right.
But back
Yeah.
then, it was an art.
I noticed though this morning in the Tennessean a really fantastic obituary for Reverend Jasper Hatcher, who died out at Locust Ridge area, and it was one of those tell the whole story of who this man was that you get in the old-timey obituaries, but you have to pay for it, and it's very expensive.
I guess I understand. I haven't had to pay for a lot of obituaries. There was mamas, there was daddies.
Yeah.
I guess the next one I pay for will be mine.
Well, write your own.
Well, that's no. I can't do that and show up for Judgment Day shortly thereafter.
Well, you don't have to exaggerate, just tell the truth. Huh?
All right. The book is $25. Is that right?
That's right. And the art, talking about the art, it was the artist that did these sketches was Billy Duke,
Yes.
right? So tell us a little bit about him. Do you know?
Well, I think he also did work maybe for the Tennessean or the Banner at that time, and I think the Williamson County Bank had maybe hired him to do these articles for the Review-Appeal, and it's really a good sketch. He's captured you can recognize the person by if you know that person or familiar with him, you can recognize that's who it is. And drawing portraits are a special gift, I think.
They certainly are, and Mr. Duke was exceptional. I'm going to throw the folks at WCTV a curveball because we have a little audio problem I've got to fix. We are going to take a break. So, Creed, that means you've got a little editing to do, but when we come back, Rick Warwick and I are going to talk about some of the people in this book. We're going to talk about Woody Dickerson.
Sure.
We're going to talk about Miss Sandlin. And look here, there's a young Inga Smith.
She's still with us.
And there are so many people here. You mentioned the Reverend.
Yes.
Were you surprised to read in his obituary that he was 91 years
Well,
old?
I figured he was. I was at his birthday at College Grove Seniors,
Yeah.
and I knew that he was 90. So 91, he's had a birthday since then.
This man, we had a news story on about your predecessor earlier this
Yes,
week, about Ms. Jo Bowman, who taught you a few things about history, about Williamson County
At
history.
her knee, yes.
And unfortunately, she came in for some criticism because she was instrumental in designing the old county seal.
That's
That seal is about to change somewhat, but when that seal was designed, it was a different time.
That's right.
And from that standpoint, it's a beautiful seal, so beautiful that it's inlaid into a floor downtown. But that's, that apparently is going to change. But we need to thank Ms. Jo Bowman instead of criticize her, because she did all of that, and probably not for one penny over many years.
No, yeah. She loved Williamson County. I put her right up there with Ennis Wallace. Ennis Wallace, you can get him talking about certain things in Williamson County and tears would start rolling. That's how much he loved the county and loved the people. And Miss Bowman was the same way. She dearly loved every inch of Williamson County.
Well, see, you've just made Eileen Wallace's day. She's out in Flat Creek listening.
I know,
now.
bless her heart, and I got to go out and see her. It's been a while.
We both need to do that. All right, let's take a 60-second break, and we'll be right back.
When I lost my sight, the only thing I had was reading.
When you discover you have an impairment, it can change your life. So take a little time to find the resources that are going to help you restore what you've lost.
Whatever your needs are, 99.9% of them can be met by the NLS program.
There's all kinds of formats that you can choose from. You can choose from large print or braille or audio.
Just can't recommend it enough. It's a free service. It's amazing how much you can get.
It has expanded my horizon.
And everybody can read the way they want to read using this program.
For more information about the National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, Library of Congress, visit loc.gov/thatallmayread or call 1-888-NLS-READ.
There we go. That ought to sound better. I think I can hear. See, the radio station's just across the street, and I can hear it from here.
Great ears.
Rick Warwick, this is not the only book of its kind, and you have collected so many who's
Yes.
from the Review Appeal. Derry Carlisle did Who's Who, and others.
Mr. Reams.
Have done
Reams
Who's Who.
Osborne. Mm-hmm.
But these have got. When I first saw it, I thought they were photographs. And they're not photographs.
No, they're drawings.
They're drawings. And let's talk about some of these people, because now we're not going to talk about the movers and. Well, yeah, a lot of these folks are movers and shakers. They just never knew it.
Yeah,
And,
in their own little world.
Yeah, but let's start off by talking about one person in particular, and we just mentioned her, Inga Smith.
Yes.
From 1960.
68.
Inga, this would have been now 54 years ago. Inga Smith would have been probably.
She's about 97, isn't she?
Should be about 40 back at this time.
Yeah.
And you look at this drawing of her, well, still at 96 or 97, there's no wrinkles. And she's all there.
She is all there.
Let's talk about Inga Smith, because she wasn't born here, was she?
She wasn't. You know, her story, her autobiography she put out just not too many years ago, is really remarkable, because, you know, her family were one of the last to get out of Germany. Being Jewish, they knew that the writing was on the wall, and they just made it on the boat, according to her details, and then they came to New York, and then eventually they ended up in Franklin, and she's become an institution.
An institution is a good way to put it. She and her family, her father, Opie Myring, I think made nylon. Had a factory in Germany.
Yes.
And Mr. Hitler decided he wanted that factory.
Dresden, Germany is where she was from.
Oh, wow. Well, so she was lucky to get out in more ways than one, wasn't
She
it?
said she went back not too many years ago, and how there was nothing there that she
would remember,
because that was almost totally destroyed, which is that's almost a war crime.
And Tom, remember the program that we did honoring the World War II vets?
Yes.
She was there, and she told her story, and she brought tears to my eyes. It was amazing.
In so many ways, she was a veteran before Jimmy Gentry was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because she paid a price just like he did.
And then she was almost a pioneer in the kindergarten program. With her, it's still going on. She has her daycare, and then being headmaster at Battleground Academy. Then it was Harpeth Academy. She's just a remarkable person.
I went to Smith Kindergarten.
Did
you? Yeah. In fact, before long on this program, we need to talk about people who came out of the Franklin Special. Did you come out of the Franklin Special School District?
No.
Okay. Another lady in here, Mrs. Z.B. Gentry?
Yes, Gertrude, I think.
Let's talk about Gertrude Gentry, because
what a mother! Look at her children have just are such great citizens to Williamson County. Jimmy's the only one left.
He is.
Because Bobby just died recently, and then of course several of the girls, and Shotgun. He was kind of a, yeah.
He was Shotgun was a unique individual.
Yes.
Did you ever go to one of his game suppers?
No, I don't eat wild meat.
That happened just a few houses down from Gist Street. And but see, each one of those Gentry people were quality people, all because of Mrs. Z.B.
And you know, that family probably went to more Franklin High School and BGA ball games than any other family.
Primarily because there was a Gentry coach
Coaching it. But
coaching.
that's right, but they really, you know, William, the oldest boy, was just a wonderful guy. I enjoyed interviewing him.
Tom, there's a intro by Jimmy Gentry here about his mother.
His mother?
Read that for us, if you would.
Not too long after the telegram came to Terry's house, another telegram was brought to Franklin. It was springtime, and people were out in their yards. They saw the messenger coming, and they watched him come up to our house and stop. David had been on a bridge over the Menturo River in Italy. He had been stringing communications wire when the Germans shelled the bridge. He died on April 29, 1944, on the way to the field hospital. He was 21 years old. Mama took down the blue star she had put in the window for David and replaced it with the gold star, which signified his death. The anguish that Mama went through happened to mothers all over America, and they never received the recognition they should have gotten.
Jimmy was...
And that's from his book, An American
Yes.
Life.
And you look at this book, Jimmy Gentry is not in there. Well, but Jimmy Gentry is in a lot of other books.
Yes, he is.
There are many people who aren't in here, but remember now, this is for a 3-year period.
Once a week.
66, 67, 68, in a different time when the top circulation of that newspaper might have been, now everybody read it, might have been 10,000.
It could have been, yeah. Easily. You know, that's back when the school kids had the contest, you know, if you sold the most subscriptions, you got a bicycle. And that was a great incentive, you know, even country folks, they would give. Back then, though, the subscription was maybe $2 or $3 a year or something.
A year?
Yeah, a year. It wasn't nothing.
And I think I paid $2.50 for a Tennessean this morning.
Talk about being overpriced.
And then I get a great deal on the Herald for $1.
Yeah.
You know. Let's talk about this man.
Okay, Woody Dickerson.
Woody Dickerson. Woody Dickerson.
He lived near you, didn't he? On Adams.
He lived on Adams Street.
Yeah.
And he made a living with a camera, and that's hard to do.
He did. You know, he came here right after the war, World War II, and he was kind of an institution himself. His office, I think, was above maybe the Harpeth Bank, and the Canadays were able to acquire his collection of negatives, and unfortunately that building burned, or was because of Will Redmond's building next door, and they've lost all those negatives, melted.
And that is kind of like a library burning.
It was, because there's a few that, I have a few that were left. They're got a lot of water damage, but I have been able to scan, particularly there was a whole section of the Rotary Club that must have been taken in the 60s, and I've been able to capture most of those.
Oh, that's good.
We don't need to spend a lot of time, or we could spend the whole program on Harry Guffey. That's Harry Guffey, right?
That's Harry Guffey.
A young Harry Guffey. Dr. Harry Guffey, because Dr. Frist wanted him to be, and but he was like Jimmy Gentry. He was gone before I ever knew he was a prisoner of war in the Second World War.
Yeah, he was what was rare. I mean, he wasn't in there long, but I was going to say, if you want to, he was probably at the time of his lifespan, he was probably the most beloved man in the county.
There are few people who deserve a statue.
Yeah.
Two of them that do deserve a statue are Harry Guffey.
And Ed Moody.
Yeah, you got it. See, I didn't even have to finish.
I miss Ed Moody. You know, he came through my office every morning go to the mail. He could take a shortcut, cut through our office to go get the mail. And every morning he'd stop and tell me a story, you know, about his business. And,
You were like a pig in slop, weren't you?
man, I miss him so. And I told Eileen that at the when I went out to talk to her where she lives now. There's a void in town when those guys die that can't be replaced.
That's true. Let's talk about this man.
Yeah, Mr. Henderson.
Mr. Henry Henderson.
Williamson County Quarterly Court.
That's right.
He was one of the first.
A Tuskegee Airman.
No.
He wasn't?
No, no.
I thought what role did he play in?
I don't know, but he wasn't in Tuskegee. That was Mr. Patton and Bobby.
That's
Mr.
right.
Murdoch.
I'm thinking of Tommy Murdoch's dad.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
Robert Murdoch.
But out of that same...
But he had a great influence on the children, particularly in the black community, because he taught over at Johnson Elementary and coached. He had a great influence, and he could handle boys probably better than...
Just with a look.
Just with a look, yeah.
There's one person here I'm not familiar with. Who is the police officer?
He lived down on the end of Adams there. Hud.
Is that Hot Hood?
Hot Hood, yeah.
Oh, okay. He was a longtime police chief.
Sure was.
Again, in a different day.
Yeah.
Franklin wasn't Mayberry.
No.
But,
yeah, it was in some ways.
But Hot Hood was kind of like Andy.
That's right.
And I'm not going to tell you who Barney was. But looking through here, there's a smiling gentleman, Mr. Bob Sewell.
He's another one that when he passed, there was a great void. He did more things just to help people out than you can imagine.
He did it the way you're supposed to.
He did it quietly. He was just a real gentleman.
There are people like Ed Moody, like Bob Sewell, no telling how much they wrote off.
That's right.
At the end of the year, or they just let a bill go.
That's right.
And
Dr. Guffey was the same way. You know,
yeah.
Very few people had to pay under his administration.
Pick some out here, Rick, because you know more of these people than I do.
Well, I see Dr. Walter Powell down here on the bottom. He's next to Dr. Guffey, and you know his office hospital is still standing over on Church Street between between 4th and 5th. And of course, there's Asa Jewell, who was a mayor and also important in the Jewell tobacco warehouse. You know, that was tobacco in this county was a big money maker, and it was a cash crop. It kept a lot of little farmers going. It was a big hit. Selling milk by the, gallon was, kept a lot of families going, that milk check. But, you know, the big hit would have been the tobacco sold in November and December and January.
It happened once a year.
Yeah.
And Franklin was flush for about a week or two.
It did.
After tobacco sales.
That's right. And debts were paid off. You know, a lot of the businesses in Franklin and throughout the county.
Built two banks.
The country stores really kept some of the tenant farmers on credit until the big check came to at the end of the year.
How about Wilson Herbert?
Wilson Herbert. You know, he probably furnished more barbecue at the funeral home than any other person. I think he was there every time I was there, and he'd bring in food for the family. A real gentleman.
Yes, he was famous for Herbert's Barbecue, but now he was quite a realtor too.
He was in the realtor business and insurance. You know, he and Ann and Tom had their office. Well, I know once it was on Bridge Street, and then it was on 2nd Avenue.
And
Miss Ivy Holt, you know, she was really a leading businesswoman operating that service station on the corner at first as you come off the bridge at East Main and 1st Avenue. I mean, you know, there's not many towns can have a lady who runs a filling station.
On that corner now is a magnificent edifice called Harpeth Square.
That's exactly right.
But on that very corner, Miss Ivy, in her overalls,
Yes.
would change the oil, would pump the gas, and she produced some children who were notable in this
That's
community
right.
as well.
Roy Mangrum, you know, worked in there. He was covered the seats. And you know, at night, many people don't know that, but after working in the filling station all day, she'd go over and wait tables at Miss Dotson's.
That's right. She was the Energizer Bunny. She
just kept on going, didn't she?
And her daughter became two-time
granddaughter.
Granddaughter. That's right. Granddaughter became the two-time superintendent of schools from Williamson County. Becky Holt Schwab.
Yeah, Schwab.
Sharber.
That's right.
She is Mrs. Jerry Sharber now.
Mm-hmm. I see the two people up here at the top that are kind of important. Mr. Martin Torner and his wife Peggy. Martin Torner had a great influence on the farmers in the county, particularly those that out in the western part of the county, Fairview. He had a deal where he guaranteed them a price for their tomatoes, and then they had their own grading system out there. And he worked a lot of people. Green beans, he would ship them by the train load, and of course the young boys liked him because they could sell their furs.
I sold him many a walnut.
And walnuts, yes. Didn't get much for them, but
but you know, for 10 or 12-year-olds, all the money in the world.
That's right, it was.
And there was a different price.
Yeah.
If he hold them, he'd pay you a lot less. If you hold them, he'd pay you a little more.
Yeah, let the car run over them.
And many a day. And I'm surprised my hands aren't green today from those Martin
And his wife's important. She was really a cultural leader. Talk about the library. They were strong supporters of the public library, and she was really a gracious lady.
There's a quote from you, Rick, about her.
We'll go right ahead.
Graciousness, enthusiasm, energy, and ability are certain qualities to be considered in the selection of the Woman of the Year by the Business and Professional Women's Club. A perfect choice this year was Mrs. Martin Torner, who not only had these characteristics and in large proportion, but puts them to use and to most efficient use at that. Mrs. Torner does not accept a task that she does not do well, and her interests run the gamut: religious, civic, educational, political, and social. And it was originally published in the Review Appeal, but it's also got credit to Who's Who in Williamson County by you.
Yeah.
Peggy Schatz Torner.
Yes.
A character.
He was.
Colonel Fulton Beasley. An auctioneer. I wonder whatever became of that Stetson.
I don't know, but he wore it, didn't he? He was in high cotton.
Yeah.
You know, he first started out up in Tom Cotton's barn up there. That's probably when you remember him. And then he moved down in the late '60s down on next to us on the 2nd Avenue and First. On 2nd and Bridge. And you know, his community auction on Saturday mornings was another institution. You can go down there and see the same people every Saturday.
Yeah.
I used to go down on Friday afternoons. I'd take Miss Nan down to let her look over the stuff, and she and the Colonel were real buddies. And he sold a lot of merchandise. If you could get some of the antiques he sold back then for $1 and have them today, you'd be a rich person.
From out College Grove
Yes.
Way, Mr. J. Powell Covington, Covington Feed and
See,
Seed.
down here on Columbia.
And you know, you see a lot of, that's right, and his son
Yeah.
did the same thing on Columbia Avenue. Remember, before it became Kane Buick Pontiac, it had that big red and white checkerboard all
That's
over
right,
that building.
yes.
And there are so many people. You look through these, and again, remember, it's only 3 years, and you want to think, well, where is this
So-and-so,
fellow? Where is that lady? Well, we had to start somewhere and stop somewhere, or this program would still be going at noon today.
Another lady who we probably should mention that's now very few people remember who she was, but Miss Lucille Henderson. You know, she did a lot of work. She was she was one of the founders of the library, but she lived out on Lewis Pike across from the railroad track, and she was during the 1930s. She worked through the government programs to get people help and assistance. Miss Mary Montgomery talked about working under her and said she had such great influence that, you know, she could pick up the phone and call the governor and get anything she wanted for Williamson County.
It says in her obit here, in lieu of flowers, the family asked that contributions be made to St. Paul's Episcopal Church or to the Williamson County Memorial Library.
Yeah, it was Memorial Day.
War Memorial Library, yeah.
At that time, it was still on Fair and Fifth Avenue.
One of her sons, or probably grandsons,
Yeah, Tommy.
is the editor, publisher of the Nashville Perspective,
Yeah, he's one of the writers. Yeah, Tom.
which is you and I find it interesting
Because
anyway.
we
don't
live it, don't we, Tom?
Yeah. Let's talk about Judge
Judge
John
Henderson.
Henderson just a
He
moment.
was a character.
You know, there, like, you think about the judges back in this community's history. You think about Judge Smith. That goes
He
way
took
back.
Judge Smith's place.
And then there's Judge John Henderson.
Yeah.
So,
Judge Henderson was quite a guy. You know, during the 20s, he served, and 30s, he served as Attorney General.
for the state of Tennessee.
Williamson County. Well, this district, I think it would
Yeah.
have taken in everything south of here and maybe a little west. But of course, his son John is still with us, lives here in town. I talked to him the other day. But yeah, Judge Henderson was quite a force.
Well, now let's get controversial here just a moment. I look at the piece about Judge John Henderson, and there's a square there. There's Rick Warwick's name. The reminiscences of Judge John H. Henderson, spring 1980. That's only 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Williamson County Historical Society Journal. And what was Judge Henderson saying in that article?
He had to, I don't know exactly which, he wrote, you know, the Hendersons, his grandfather and his father and he and even his son kept a diary, and they are just treasures. And I think I probably quoted from one of his entries there. Tell me exactly what it is.
Is this about Chip?
About how Chip got his name.
Oh yeah.
and that Judge Henderson had put a name on
the guy that did it.
But I didn't think he had a name. I thought Chip was.
My understanding.
No, he's saying who.
Yeah, my understanding was the man soldier on top was Mr. Pleas Smith.
Yeah, Pleas Smith.
Now, whether he was or not, I'm not sure. So he got himself out of that.
I call him Chip. I know him as Chip.
Well, that's a rather new thing. That's recently given that nickname. I mean, the last 10 years.
But there's a reason, and this is what Judge Henderson was getting to about how Chip got his name. Pick out one more, but we're running.
Well, yeah,
out
so
of
someone
time.
that's still living today is Miss Virginia White. You know, she worked at Williamson County Bank for many, many years, and of course, her husband Jim is right there next to her. She was quite a lady, and is quite a lady. Last time I saw her, I didn't hardly recognize her. She had lost so much weight, but You know, the banks in Williamson County, and particularly in Franklin, we had the Harpeth Bank, the Williamson County Bank, the Bank of College Grove was down there on Columbia. And then, of course, later other banks have come here for the good business that they provide. But, you know, those old timers in the bank kept this economy going in town. Fuller Arnold, I think Fuller's also written up in here. I'm sure he ought to be.
You see Mr. Joe Bellefonte, one of the powers behind the Bank of College Grove.
That's right, yeah.
One of the powers behind, you talk about Mr. Democrat.
Yeah.
And was he a political boss?
Well, you know, he was on the county court for many years. Lynn Fryer ought to be mentioned because, you know,
That's
she
right.
was the first.
She shook things up, didn't she?
She was the first woman on the Williamson County Court, in the old quarterly court.
A librarian.
And she was a librarian at BJ, wasn't she? But she talked about somebody who was outspoken. She did not...
She didn't back off.
She didn't back off. And I remember one time, you know, she would question, because she knew the budget committee, you know, met the night before and decided what they were going to do. And so she picked at him and got so mad. Charles Meeks got so mad one day that he walked out and never came, he never came back the rest of the day. She'd made him so mad. Mr. W.C. Yates.
Great educator.
Just a great educator. And
Father of the Chamber of Commerce.
He was really a great human, and I sadly didn't get to know him until the last year of his life. And I met him out here in the parking lot. He was coming in to pay his taxes. I think it was the last day of March. And we stood out there for an hour, and he said, I got to go up and pay that. So, and I said, he said, well, come to my house. And so I went over and spent an afternoon with him, and it was delightful.
One more name before we have to turn this thing over.
Well, I see Mr. Jim Chapman is in the corner down there, and of course, there's not many people living today that remember Chapman's Pie Wagon. I've tried to keep it alive because it was such an institution, sitting there on the square in front of Trice's Hardware.
Can you imagine that today?
Can't imagine it today, but you know.
In fact, there's two, wasn't it?
Yes, it was one over by the courthouse. Besides that, Miss Smithwick was the last one to operate that one. But it's a great collection. Oh, Mr. Robinson, you know, at the funeral home.
The son of Burwood.
He was the son of Burwood. Well, really Boston.
Yes, he was son of Boston, and the son of Burwood was J.B. Aiken.
And he's in here too.
Yes.
Mr. Aiken was, as you know, Bobby Langley puts him up there with all the men because he kind of let the neighborhood boys play on the BGA courts and things. Yes, and of course, Stuart Campbell.
Show them Stuart Campbell, if you would. Look at this drawing, and you're going to see somebody who is 70 years old right now, and this is what Brother Campbell looks like. But this is not Brother Campbell.
No.
This is his dad, Stuart Campbell, from Harpeth National Bank, and Sam Fleming helped raise him. And but you look at Stuart Campbell, and folks not from around here would call Brother Stuart.
Yeah.
But this sure looks like Brother.
Of course, you know, you ought to say probably Buddy Mills. He was the principal at Franklin
Junior High.
Junior High. Had a great influence on the town.
Let's do this more often. We need to talk about old Williamson County more often.
Because it's disappearing, isn't it?
Sadly, but it is. We have a better community, depending on what you call better. But from we need to remember where we came from.
Exactly.
Dolores, $25, and where do you take that $25?
You can make it out to the Friends of the Williamson County Library, and you can take it to the library, or you can pay through Amazon. There's several ways to do it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you both so much.
And Mr. Michael, we're about to turn it back to you right after we thank the folks from WCTV for helping us kill two birds with one stone this morning. News is next from WAKM, Franklin, Tennessee, streaming live on WAKMWorldwide.com.